Welcome to Buckets, your daily NBA betting podcast, live from the Tommy John Home Studios. When you're truly comfortable, you do everything better, and that includes betting. We've got your bets for the Saturday slate, a pair of game threes, a pair of game fours. I am so excited to be back on this podcast, this time playoff style. Everybody in the group chat's been having fun without me. Here we are. I'm Brandon Kravitz along with Michael Fiddle, host of the Advantage Sports Betting Pod. You can find him there as well, also on Twitter at Fiddle's Picks. We've got a couple of big injuries looming large on these games. Jimmy Butler for the Golden State Warriors, John Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies, both taking their own version of very hard falls on the hardwood. It feels like the Grizzlies will be put to bed in game 4 of this series, but how about that comeback, Fiddle? Thunder down 29 to the Grizzlies. They came roaring back in game 3. Were you able to live bet cash in on that at all?
So I was actually on Buckets Live, and I remember Matt saying at some point, like, there's just no chance OKC comes back. And it was a 29-point game. And that was the moment because Kyle goes, John Morant just went down. And I go, yeah, at this point, they can't come back from it. Like, it's 29. Sure enough, chip away, it's really more resoundingly impressive about OKC because they're going to be a story throughout the playoffs. Like Memphis has been a turmoil to end the season, so I get some of the focus on Memphis now, but really it's just a remarkable OKC performance. The resiliency that they showed, the grit, the defense, the shooting, like the game theory optimal basketball to start prioritizing 3-point shooting and let Chet letting them fire. Like at some point you're gonna realize when you're down so much in the end of the in the third quarter, you just have to start launching threes to give yourself a chance.
For
There's
sure.
no other way to come back. And so they started hitting their shots, and OKC defense steps up, and we see an amazing, amazing result that'll be a story throughout the postseason.
It's amazing because OKC kind of operates like when I'm watching them, I feel like I'm watching an elite college basketball team at that level. Their ability to get stops time and time again. And I think there were multiple points in that game last night where the Memphis Grizzlies had those stretches that they show you during March Madness, scoreless over the last 3 minutes, 45 seconds, 46 seconds. The clock just keeps rolling. They did that time and again against this basketball team. I was lucky enough to fire at exactly that moment. Once I saw John Morant, I was at an NFL draft party last night, but I still had one eye on that game. When John Morant took that spill, I thought this would be a good time. Plus 13 and a half, little sprinkle on the money line. These are the ways to get ahead. Saved me from an otherwise average betting night. The other one, Jimmy Butler underwent an MRI that revealed no structural damage. Butler is in serious jeopardy of missing game 3 due to a deep glute muscle contusion. That sounds painful. The line opened at Warriors -4. It's now down to Warriors -2.5. Houston was a 4-point favorite at closing in game 2. The series switches to San Francisco. Take the Butler injury out of it. I don't know how much that was baked into the original line, but an 8-point swing for home court, is that about what we're seeing so far in the playoffs? It feels pretty extreme.
Yeah, it is about what we're seeing. So Pacers Bucks is a 9-point swing. There's other places like Lakers Wolves is an 8-point swing. Cavaliers Heat is like a 6-point swing. So a lot of it also depends which numbers you're moving through. And so like I often talk about the number one being the 13th most common outcome in the NBA, and the numbers that are common outcomes in the playoff shift. So like 3, 4, 5 becomes more or less important than like 7, 8, 9, if that makes sense, because there's more late game fouling. You'll throw an extra, you'll play it to an extra hair. You'll foul with down 5 with 6 seconds left, even, right? So the teams will do anything. So the you'll see the range increase, which means one, is really not that important of a number, so it's worth about 6 cents when other line moves are worth about 10 cents. So if you factor in you're moving through two ones, the zero doesn't exist in the NBA. Understand it's an integer on the number scale. It's not an NBA number. So for those reasons, seeing a line move a little bit further when it's going through these, it's still the same value change, but the line seems more extreme, if that makes sense.
Somewhat. You almost left me in the dust, but that is, it does make sense when you, especially when you think about exactly what home court means
It's like an
in the
NFL line
postseason.
moving from 2.5 to 3.5 is equivalent to it moving from 5 to 7.
Yeah. So, and that, I mean, it essentially comes down to also to the incredible swings that we see in these playoff series. Like the way that these teams are able to gobble up momentum on their home floor and the limited opportunities that you have in these situations to capitalize. We've just seen these swings. I mean, I think Memphis and OKC is a really good example of this. Prior to the comeback, Memphis was on their way to rolling OKC. Why? Well, probably because they flipped the series back home, and so that'll be an interesting one to track. I'm curious to see what you end up landing on as far as this card goes. A reminder that everything that we talk about can be found in the award-winning Action Network app, as well as quick slips for our picks today in the episode description. Fiddle, what are we looking at? What are your best bets on the Saturday card?
You ready for this, Brandon? We have
I'm
four
ready.
games. I'm going Cavs Heat under 213.5. Grizzlies Thunder under 223.5. Nuggets Clippers under 213 or 212.5. And if you could sense a theme, Rockets Warriors under 204. Give me all four
Clean,
unders. We're
clean
going 3-1.
across, clean across the board. Now we saw very early on when the playoffs started, it was under City. It was just a parade of unders. Things have corrected themselves a little bit, but why the tilt towards an under card? Is it the general thought? Are you doing this game by game, or is this a thought of where these series are at this stage, a couple of games in, where things tend to tighten up? These teams have figured themselves out. You're just kind of playing the numbers game of, I know I'm going to finish above 500 if I slate this thing. Is that the thought process, or did you game by game process these lines?
All of the above. It's a market read. It's an individual game by game cap. It's understanding that in the NBA playoffs, you can put what you see in one situation over to another. Like how physical Lakers and Wolves have been is akin to how physical the Pistons and the Knicks have been, and or the Celtics and the Magic and the Rockets and the Warriors. We're seeing a different sport out there. And so the whistle's not the same. The defense is ratcheted up a whole lot. The rim protection, you can get away with a lot more. The closeouts on threes, the pace and possession rate are rapidly decreasing. So we could go through all of them, but it's individual reasons for each game. It's the market direction that's been the trend thus far in the number, and it's understanding that what we're seeing throughout the NBA, and as we go deeper into all these series, you're going to get the defensive adjustments and the defensive assignments. Like they remain the same. You know, when you're going against Josh Hart, Jalen Duren's going to be roaming the paint and leaving him at the 3-point line. And so we know what we're going to see. And so the Knicks are going to slowly set up, Hart generating some offense. So like even that Monday game, I would go under there too. All of these games, I think if you look at the next five that are priced for Saturday, Sunday currently, they're all under spots. And I think they go 3-1 on Saturday, 4-1 in total. I wouldn't parlay them. I would just hit them all as straights.
Yeah, I think that's an important detail to all of this because what you're trying to do is hit above that threshold of 52.4%. And in playing the slate, you should be able to do exactly that. If I were isolate, and I love that idea, and I do this all the time, exactly that. Under, slate, go. That's how I bet baseball on certain occasions,
Yep.
especially in the middle of the week when things tend to grind to a
Sometimes the
halt.
books offer like the grand salami where you add up all the totals and you can go over or under.
Oh,
It's
wow.
available every week for NFL and every day for MLB. I hope they make it available for the NBA playoffs.
That's amazing. They do not offer that at my local book in the state of Florida, but if I ever see that, salami sandwich, here we come. The one that I would be worried about individually is Cavs Heat. And partially, I mean, I played the under the other day in game two, didn't go my way. But part of what we've seen in the first two games here is that the Heat cannot slow down the Cleveland Cavaliers. No matter what they do, and they've played some good defense against this team, this is like a leaky faucet. There's only so much Miami can do. Game one, it was the front court, or game one, it was the back court. Game two, it was the front court. They just can't slow these guys down. You had Ty Jerome go off in one of these games. There's so many different areas the Cavs are hitting this team from. You figure Miami will play better offensively, being that they're at home when role players tend to step up a little bit. The Cavs shouldn't change. So I worry about that one a little bit. Your thoughts on that game individually if we isolate it?
Yeah, so opening in the total was 215. We're now down to a consensus 213.5, which I think still playable. It's a day game playoff spot, so we're starting in Miami as the first game on that Saturday slate at 1 p.m. Day game NBA unders is a trend for Christmas spots, for NBA Sundays. Once the NFL's done, certainly for the playoffs. I think the Cavs shooting should regress on the road. Like Ty Jerome has been knocking them down. DeAndre Hunter in game two. Sam Merrill has been getting good minutes. So I look at those things and I say the Miami Heat are going to zone defense them because that's what they do when they're struggling defensively. Spoelstra's going to scheme some sort of wonky look. The Cavs should regress a little bit with their three-point shooting. And then we have this day game under trend where the pace might just totally be flat. So I think you could still play an under 213.5, which is just widely available consensus across the board. And I would still play that down like a full point to 212.5.
I'm a little bit surprised that there isn't more overcorrection on the Thunder Grizzlies line with John Morant. I would be surprised if he played. That was a tough spill that he took. I don't know. We don't have an updated report on that, but you figure their offense. Is it a pace thing, or is this just not baked in yet that John Morant might not play? Their offensive efficiency, I imagine, goes down without him.
I mean, and the gut punches that the series has been, the correction to Scottie Pippen Jr. as the replacement option, right? So it's not even like you're replacing Darius Garland with Sam Merrill, or you're replacing Jason Tatum with Sam Hauser, and these guys who aren't great at defense and who just launch threes, right? So you're replacing John Morant with Scottie Pippen Jr., who I understand shot really well in game two, but he's a defensive-minded player and is going to be more meticulous in his offensive output. So it's gone down about 3 points from where game two closed. But I also, game three closed rather, but I understand like part of that is John Morant. Part of that is just this pace dying down in general, that the last game went clearly under anyways. And then the last thing I would say to that, Brandon, is when John Morant was suspected to potentially miss the play-in game against the Mavericks because he sprained his ankle really bad against the Warriors, and then was like looked like he was taking medicine on the sidelines against them, and then like we had that picture of him rolling his eyes on the bench, and so it's like, is Ja even gonna play? He ended up coming back the next game and looking amazing, and then being asked on the sidelines after the game, like, how'd you get through it? He goes, I can't feel my ankle, so I was out here. So I think Ja's gonna want to be out there. I don't think he's gonna want to end the season on such a sour note, and we've seen him come back sprier than you would expect. So I think that is priced like 50-50 John Morant, and still has room to go down if he doesn't play or if he comes back, and this one's a little bit worse than the ankle was.
For the Nuggets and the Clippers, we've seen 3 games so far in that series, and all 3 have gone under. And this is the lowest total of the 3 of them. So books adjusting a little bit as far as that goes. My best bet on the board, Fiddle, Nuggets first quarter plus 1.5. I'm doing a sprinkle on that, half unit on the quarter. I don't know about you. I never play full units on quarters. If I'm going to play a full unit, it's on the full game. There's too much variance with these quarters, but I do think there's an angle here. So I go half unit on the first quarter plus 1.5 for the Denver Nuggets, and then full game plus 6. They got blasted by the Clippers in game 3. The Clippers really fed off of that Intuit Dome crowd, 35 points in the opening frame. They never looked back. The Nuggets lost by 34 points. So you're going to get that typical bounce back effort from them. And Jokic plays the entirety of first quarters. So I like the Nuggets in the first quarter because I know that I'm not going to have to live without the Joker. So I'm going to throw a half unit on that, half unit on the full game. And I like that angle to open that game up.
I like the first quarter angle. I'll be against you on the full game, but speaking to the first quarter angle, I think it's really sharp knowing the rotation there and that Jokic plays the full game. Obviously, our Matt Moore here at Action Network covers Denver Nuggets very closely. So we were on the stream last night as that game was live, and it was Denver winning towards the end of the first quarter, and then the Clippers took the lead. And Matt goes, like, right before we started the stream, he goes, "Oh, now Clippers are going to run away with it in the non-Jokic minutes as we start the second." And we
Yep.
look back like 3 minutes later, and it's like an 11-point game. And so isolating the first quarter is like a very smart concept here, Brandon. And I actually think that's what the one of the most famous NBA gamblers, Haralabob, really was his bread and butter. He was a first quarter better, thinking that if you isolated rotations, you could really decrease your variance in some of the longer game stuff if you just keep smacking first quarters. And so this is a trick at the sharpest of levels. And he got hired by the Mavericks one day, so maybe GM Kravitz is going to be working on that end of the magic one day.
Well, I mean, when you word it like that, maybe the full unit should be in play. My issue, though, when in putting full units on quarters, is that I feel like you have to know yourself. I feel like I'm a pretty good full game read as
Yeah,
far as how the overall matchup is going to be dictated, how things are going to flow. What I don't know is when those quarters and runs are going to take place.
even
That's where I think you need a crystal ball to figure that out.
yep.
So I'm very selective when it comes to quarter betting, and I will cut my unit size in half because I don't want to end up with that bet regret at the end of the night going, why am I over betting on quarters when really when a lot of the work that we do, so much of this is based on full game numbers, full game projections, full game market reads. So much effort goes into that. To put a full unit on the minutia of a quarter to me doesn't feel right, and that's why I always slice it.
So I would also agree with that. If it's like even the greats in this space, they didn't just start out hammering that as a perceived edge. It's a developed thing, right? Like you ended up noticing it over time and scaling it up once you realize, whoa, this is one of my biggest edges. So if you're over here saying this is a single spot where I've picked off a quarter and it's not normally your angle, then it's not necessarily a proven large edge for you in this sample size, right? So I really do like the cap. I like the quarter play, but I also think the bankroll management is smart here. And I know I don't really bet quarters because when I do bet, it's like early in the market. It's when these lines open. It's like as they're first starting to move because I will like spot where this direction is going to go and grab a good number. That's the principle of what I do. The quarter prices aren't even available yet.
Right.
So the market settles and then the quarter prices and the half prices come up. So I don't like it's when I bet a -3 and it's sitting there at -5.5, like a Bucks Pacers game tonight. And then I check the quarter price and the first quarter's 2.5. I'm like, well, I'm just going to sit on my full game -3 then, right? So there's different ways to do it, and there's different ways to win, and all of these approaches should be methodically done and then back tested and proven and tracked, and then you understand where you sit. But I do like this Nuggets first quarter.
I'm also going to play the full game on the Cavs and the Heat. I'm going to take the minus. I got a -6. I think we're seeing some movement on that. This is game 3 down in Miami. Too big of an overcorrect for me on a line where Miami does not have a good home court, especially on a season like this. Miami's just, they're such a front running fan base to begin with. I live in the state of Florida. I know these markets well. Miami is not an exciting product right now. They are not fired up about this basketball team. I mean, you want to play another first quarter angle? I'm not going to overdo this, but that will be a late arriving Miami crowd early on in the day at the
True.
Kaseya Center.
True.
Last time the Cavs played the Heat, by the way, down in Miami, they won by 20. So the Cavs are just on a different level. I think the Heat get smoked in this game.
Yep, I played an early Cavs price on this one too.
Fantastic. All right, anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, I think we're good there. Five unders. Stretch it even to the Sunday Pistons Knicks game.
All right. I'm going to tell you on those, by the way. I like that read
Let's go.
quite
Let's
a
go
bit.
3-2 or 4-1.
If you want to instantly tail the bets that we've discussed in this episode, you can find the quick slip link in the podcast YouTube description or head to actionnetwork.com/bet now. That's a wrap for the Saturday episode. Thanks for tuning in. Have fun out there. Good luck. Let's get buckets.